$20. That's the exact bill still sitting in your wallet. Same one, 15 years old. You've never spent it. You don't notice the house first, not the truck in the driveway, not the fact that your phone hasn't buzzed with a bill reminder in years. You notice the quiet, then someone says your name. Naomi. Same laugh, same walk. Older now, but you'd know her from the back of her head. She looks at the house, then at you. Look at you, she says, half a smile, half something else. You smile back, but you don't feel like celebrating yet, because you remember another porch, a cracked plastic chair, gas station coffee, a duplex in Tulsa with walls so thin you could hear the neighbor's TV at midnight. Back then, you made the same $9.50 an hour, same shift, same manager, same promise, whispered more than once. Someday this will look different. Neither of you believed it would look this different. You unlock your own door now without doing math first. She still checks her banking app before she orders lunch. And here's the part that never made sense to you. Not once in 15 years did it feel like you were winning. From where you stood, she was the one pulling ahead. She traveled more, upgraded sooner, smiled bigger in every photo. People thought you were the slow one. They were reading the wrong number the whole time. Because the real difference between your life and hers was never the paycheck. It was one habit. So small, nobody ever pointed at it while it was happening. Not your parents, not your coworkers, not even Naomi. It took 15 years before you understood what you'd built. By then, there was no version of this where she catches up. 6:15. The alarm again. Same crack running across your phone screen since March. You and Naomi start the same week, same floor, same hospital. You clean and calibrate equipment. She works the front desk. $9.50 an hour, both of you. After taxes, it lands around $1,100 a month. Your rent is $410. A room, not an apartment. A room, in a duplex, you split with 2 roommates you barely see. The bus pass costs $63. You buy it on the 1st of every month, no matter what. You open a checking account that spring. First one ever in your name. The banker slides a form across the counter. Says something about a minimum balance. You nod as you understood. 3 weeks later, you don't. $11 comes out of your account before your paycheck clears. A subscription you forgot. The bank calls it insufficient funds. $35? Gone. Just like that. You stare at the number. It doesn't move no matter how many times you refresh the app. You don't tell anyone, not Naomi, not your roommates. You just eat the same thing for 4 days and don't mention it. Naomi texts on a Thursday, drinks after shift, then food, then something else. You already know how the night ends. You've seen it end that way before. $20, $25 gone before midnight. You say you can't. She says, come on, you always say that. You laugh it off. But it sits in you a little different this time. Not guilt exactly. Something closer to being left out of your own life. That night you buy a wallet. Nothing special. Brown leather, $5 off at a shop near the bus stop. You put a $20 bill in it. Not for anything. Not an emergency fund. Not a plan. Just a bill you decide not to spend. You don't know why. You just leave it there. Nobody sees this. There's no picture of it. No one asks how your Thursday night went because nothing happened on your Thursday night. You went home. You made coffee in the small pot with the cracked handle. You went to bed at 10. This is the part nobody talks about. Because there's nothing to talk about. A decision that doesn't happen doesn't look like anything. It doesn't feel like anything either. Not at first. Naomi posts a photo the next morning. Everyone at the table, laughing, drinks lined up. You like the photo. You mean it. You're not angry at her. You're not proud of yourself either. You just go to work. Nobody claps for a $20 bill sitting untouched in a $5 wallet. That's the part that makes it easy to forget it's even happening. Nothing dramatic happens this year. That's kind of the point. You get a small raise. $9.50 becomes $10.25. Nobody throws a party over 75 cents an hour. You don't either. You open a high-yield savings account on a Sunday night, scrolling on your phone in bed. 4.3% APY. You don't fully understand what that means yet. You just know it's better than the 0.01% sitting in your regular account, doing nothing, for nobody. You set up an automatic transfer, $50 a month, the day after payday, before you can see it, before you can miss it. You never touch the setting again. The wallet is still in your back pocket. Same $20 bill. You've stopped noticing it's there, which is different from forgetting about it. It's just part of the shape of your life now, like your bus pass, like the crack in your phone screen you never got fixed. At work, there's a man named Mr. Okafor. Chidi Okafor. He's been at the hospital longer than anyone can remember. Maintenance, mostly same as you, except older. Quieter. Always in the break room 20 minutes before his shift starts. Nobody really talks to him. He doesn't invite conversation. He just sits by the window with black coffee he never seems to finish, a tray and a small spiral notebook that's thick with pages, corners soft from handling. One rainy Tuesday, the break room coffee machine breaks. Everybody complains, half joking, about how the hospital can afford new flooring in the lobby, but not a working coffee maker. You wander in anyway, out of habit more than thirst. Mr. Okafor's sitting alone, notebook closed under his hand. He looks up. You ever think about what your paycheck's actually paying for? He asks. Not unfriendly, just direct. You laugh a little. Rent, gas, the usual. He nods slowly, like that wasn't really the question. But he doesn't correct you. He just goes back to his coffee. You go back to work. You don't think about it again that day, but it comes back that night, uninvited, the way small questions do. You're lying in bed, phone dark on the nightstand, and it just sits there. What your paycheck's actually paying for. You don't have an answer. You've never needed one before. The next morning you make coffee at home instead of stopping at the gas station on the way in. It saves you $2.10. That number is almost embarrassing to think about. $2.10 isn't changing anyone's life. You do it again the next day anyway. Then the day after that. Nobody notices. That's usually how it starts. Naomi gets promoted first. Front desk to office coordinator. Everyone claps in the break room. Somebody brings a cake. She buys a car that weekend. Not used. New. A silver hatchback with the paper plate still on it. She parks it right by the entrance where everyone walks past on their way in. You walk past it too, 4 days a week. It's a nice car. You mean that honestly. Your own car is 9 years old, with a check engine light that's been on so long you've started calling it a personality trait. It starts every morning. Mostly. That's the whole review. Naomi posts the car online, then a trip to Nashville with 3 friends, then a new phone, then a night out where somebody orders a bottle of something with a name you don't recognize, and Naomi's tagged in every photo of the table, laughing, glass raised. You like the photos, you mean it every time. But somewhere in there, a thought starts showing up that wasn't there before. You're at a red light, your check engine light glowing orange, and you think, maybe she's doing this right. Maybe you're the one getting it wrong. You're 24. Nobody at 24 wants to be the cautious one. The slow one. The one still riding a bus pass while somebody your exact same age is driving somewhere new every weekend. You almost say something to her about it. You don't. You just go home and open the banking app instead, the way some people check the mirror. $50 a month, still moving, quiet as ever. $600 in there now. Not much, not nothing. You do the math on your phone, sitting in the dark car in the hospital parking lot before your shift. $600 over 4 years, at the rate the app shows you. It's not an exciting number. It's barely a number at all, next to a silver hatchback. You put the phone away and go inside. This is the part nobody warns you about. Not the hard part. The confusing part. From where you're standing, it looks like the person spending everything is winning. She's smiling in every photo. You're doing math in a parked car. Mr. Okafor is in the break room again the next week. You mention the car, half joking, mostly not. Feel like I'm missing something everyone else already figured out. He doesn't look up from his coffee right away. When he does, he just says, "You're not behind. You're just quiet about it." You don't really understand what he means. Not yet. You go back to work. The check engine light is still on, the wallet is still in your back pocket, $20 inside it, same bill, still there. Still doing nothing that anyone can see. Nobody claps for that either. You open a brokerage account on your lunch break, sitting in your car with a sandwich you don't finish. Roth IRA. You've read about it 3 separate times before you actually do it. That's about 2 times more research than anyone around you has done for anything. First deposit, $500. Almost everything you have outside the savings account. You pick an index fund because Mr. Okafor mentioned the phrase once, offhand, like it wasn't a big deal. Total market, low fees, don't touch it. That's the whole conversation. It takes him 11 seconds. You turn on automatic reinvestment without really understanding what it does. You just check the box, because it seems like the kind of box you should check. 6 weeks later, the market drops. Not a little, 6% in about 10 days. You watch your $500 become $470, then $461. Your thumb hovers over the sell button, which feels dramatic for $461. It doesn't feel dramatic in the moment, though. It feels like watching something you built start to come apart. You don't sell. You don't sell mostly because you forget the app is even open, phone face down on the passenger seat while you finish your shift. By the time you check again that night, it's already up $9 from the bottom. You didn't do anything. You just didn't do the thing you almost did. Nobody sees this moment. There's no photo of a person not pressing a button. That same month, your automatic transfer moves $50 into the account anyway, right on schedule, market dip or not. You buy shares at the lower price without ever deciding to. The schedule decided for you. Which turns out to be the whole point, though you don't have the language for that yet. Naomi asks how you're doing one Sunday, texting from somewhere with better weather than Tulsa. You tell her fine. She asks if you're still doing that saving thing. You say yeah. She sends back a laughing emoji. Not mean. Just amused. The way you'd be amused by someone collecting bottle caps. You don't defend it. There's nothing dramatic to defend. $640 in savings. About $900 across the retirement account and the brokerage combined. It's not a number that changes a life. It's barely a number that changes a Tuesday. But something else changes. Quieter than the money. You stop checking the account out of nerves and start checking it out of something closer to curiosity. It's a small shift. You almost don't notice it happening in yourself. That night, you take the $20 bill out of the wallet just to look at it, which you haven't done since the day you bought the wallet itself. Same bill. Slightly softer at the folds now. You put it back without spending it. Same as always. You don't know yet that this is the year everything quietly locks into place. It doesn't feel like that year. It feels like a Tuesday where you didn't press a button. That's usually how the important years feel while you're in them. Naomi gets promoted again. Office manager now. She buys a car this time. Not a new one, a nicer one. A used SUV with leather seats and a sunroof. Financed over 6 years. The payment is $380 a month. She tells you the number like it's nothing. And to her, at this point, it basically is. You're still driving the same car. The check engine light isn't a joke anymore. It's just a fact of the dashboard, like the clock or the gas gauge. You could afford something nicer. You've checked. You've had the tab open on a dealership website more than once, scrolling through listings on your phone at 11 at night. You close the tab every time. Nobody applauds that. There's no photo of a tab being closed. This is the year something starts to feel different. And it isn't the money. The money's actually fine, growing slow and steady the way it's supposed to. What's different is the room you're standing in. You still show up to the old table, the one with Naomi and the group from work. Trips, upgrades, whatever restaurant just opened. You still laugh at the right parts. But you're doing math in your head half the time. Converting somebody's new vacation into how many months of your automatic transfer that would represent. You hate that you do this. You do it anyway. You don't fit fully at the finance people's table either. The ones at the hospital admin office who talk about their brokerage accounts over coffee. Your number's still small next to theirs. You're standing in a hallway between 2 rooms, and this is the loneliest year so far. Lonelier even than the year you were flat broke. Because back then, at least everyone around you was in the same room. Now you've walked far enough that going back would feel strange. You just haven't walked far enough to see anything that looks like a destination yet. You mention this to Mr. Okafor sort of, without really saying it directly. You tell him you don't know what you're building toward anymore. The number's growing. You just can't feel it growing. He doesn't offer comfort. He just says, that's usually where people quit. Not at the bottom, right about here. You ask him what's supposed to happen next. He shrugs. Nothing for a while, then everything, all at once, later than you want. That's not a satisfying answer. You drive home with it anyway. Check engine light glowing the whole way. $20 bill sitting untouched in your back pocket like it always is. Not doing anything you can point to. Not proving anything to anyone. The account now sits at just under $6,000 combined, across everything. It's a real number now. It's also nowhere near enough to feel like anything. You go to bed that night without an answer. You get up the next morning and make coffee at home anyway. Because at this point, it isn't a decision anymore. It's just who you are when nobody's watching, which, you're starting to suspect, might be the only version of who you are that actually counts. Same restaurant as always for your birthday. Same group, mostly, though a couple of faces have changed over the years. Someone moved away, someone had a baby, someone just stopped coming around. Naomi's there, later than everyone else, apologizing about traffic in the new SUV. Somebody named Devin raises his glass halfway through dinner. I finally got approved for the truck, he says. $58,000. Everybody cheers. Somebody asks about the interest rate, and he waves it off, laughing, like the rate is a technicality that doesn't apply to him. You raise your glass too. You mean it, mostly. You're not sitting there resenting Devin's truck. You're just quiet for a second longer than everyone else at the table. The conversation moves on. New phones. A trip somebody's planning to Cancun. Complaints about a landlord raising the rent again. Somebody turns to you eventually. Fork still in hand. So what have you been up to? You open your mouth. Nothing especially interesting comes out. Just, work. Same stuff. They nod. The conversation moves on to somebody else's new apartment. Nobody asks a second question. That's the part that stays with you longer than it should. Because the truth is, you have been up to something. 8 years of it actually. $50 here, $70 there. A Roth IRA that slowly stopped looking small. A savings account that survived a car repair without you touching the retirement money. None of that photographs well. None of it fits into the shape of a birthday dinner conversation. I didn't buy a new phone this year isn't a sentence anyone wants to hear twice. You catch your reflection in the restaurant window on the way out. For half a second you don't recognize yourself. Not because you look different. Because nobody at that table tonight seemed to notice that you are different. You drive home with that thought sitting heavy in the passenger seat. And instead of going to bed, you open the spreadsheet. The one you've kept updating every single Sunday for years. The one nobody's ever seen. The one that started as a single embarrassing page and is now thick with tabs. You look at the actual total for the first time in a while, instead of just glancing and closing it. Combined, everything, the savings, the Roth, the small brokerage account, minus what's left on the car, comes to a little under $19,000. Somewhere across town, Devin's truck is sitting in a driveway with a $58,000 loan attached to it. You don't think about that to feel superior. You think about it because the two numbers, sitting side by side in your head, are the first real proof you've had that two people can leave the same dinner and be living in completely different math. It's not a small number anymore, the 19,000. It's also not a number that impresses anyone at a birthday dinner, which is a strange kind of gap to sit inside. You lean back in your chair. The coffee next to you has gone cold. Same as always. You stare at the number for a long time. Long enough that it stops looking like progress and starts looking like proof of something you can't quite name yet. And for the first time since you started this, a different thought shows up. One that's harder to shake than the "am I wasting my 20s" thought from years ago. What if the number never gets big enough to matter to anyone but you? What if this is just what your life quietly is now? A spreadsheet nobody reads, updated by a person nobody's asking twice about? You don't have an answer. You close the laptop and go to bed. The alarm goes off at 6:15 the next morning, same as it has for 8 years. You get up anyway. It starts with an email. No warning. The way these things always seem to start with no warning, even though later you'll wonder how you missed the signs. The new regional director. The hiring freeze. The meetings that got moved behind closed doors. Mandatory all staff. 10 in the morning. A room full of people trying very hard to look like they aren't panicking, which is its own kind of tell. Names get called, not yours, not yet. Mr. Okafor's name gets called. You don't get to say much to him before he goes. A hallway, a box already half packed because apparently he saw this coming before anyone else did. He shakes your hand, doesn't seem angry, doesn't seem surprised either. Keep the notebook going, he says, which is strange because you never told him about the spreadsheet. Maybe he just meant it as a phrase. Maybe he knew anyway. You never get the chance to ask. His chair sits empty for exactly 9 days before someone from a different department starts using it for storage. The hospital feels colder after that. Not the temperature, just the air of the place. Everyone starts talking a little quieter near the break room, a little more carefully near their supervisors. The certainty that was never really certainty in the first place has just been proven, out loud, in front of everybody. 3 months later, it's your name. A folder slides across a table. A rehearsed sentence about restructuring and appreciating your years of service. A handshake that goes on a beat too long, like the person on the other end of it needs it to feel like more than it is. Your badge stops opening the side door on your way out. You didn't know a badge could just stop working like that. Same piece of plastic, same photo of you looking slightly too serious. And now it just beeps red at a door it's opened 4,000 times. You carry a small cardboard box to your car, a framed photo, a mug with a chip in the handle. Nothing else, really. 8 years condensed into something you can hold with one arm. You sit in the driver's seat without starting the engine. Rain on the windshield. Your phone lights up. Somebody heard already. Word travels fast in a building that size. Sorry to hear. You'll land on your feet. Everything happens for a reason. You don't answer any of it. You drive home in the kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful. The calendar on your kitchen wall still has next month's shifts penciled in, built around a paycheck that no longer exists. You stand in front of it for a while, like it might rearrange itself if you look long enough. That night you open your laptop, new document, blank resume template, cursor blinking in the same spot it's been blinking for a full minute. You don't type anything. Instead, your eyes drift to the spreadsheet tab still open from months ago. Years of Sunday nights. Numbers nobody ever asked to see. A wallet on the nightstand with the same $20 bill inside it, older now, softer at the folds, still never spent. You close the resume tab. For the first time in your adult life, you sit with a question you've been avoiding since a rainy Tuesday in a hospital break room almost a decade ago. What if none of this was ever a backup plan? What if it was the actual plan, the whole time, and you just didn't have a name for it yet? The rain stops outside. The house stays quiet. You don't have an answer that night either. But for the first time, you don't reach for the resume to find one. The first morning after is the strangest one. Not exciting, not triumphant, just quiet in a way that feels almost wrong. Like a room after everyone's left a party. For 9 years your mornings belonged to a schedule that wasn't yours. Now there's no badge to swipe, no shift to clock into, no inbox filling faster than you can empty it. The silence sits there uncomfortably for a while. Then, slowly, it starts to feel like something else. Not comfort exactly. Room. You open the spreadsheet, not because it has an answer written in it, because it reminds you this morning didn't start with a layoff. It started years back, with $2.10 saved on a cup of coffee, with a check engine light nobody fixed on purpose, with saying not yet more times than you can count, in rooms where nobody was keeping score. The first few months are rougher than you expected. You start doing equipment maintenance and repair work on a contract basis. Clinics, small practices, a dental office that calls you back 3 separate times because their sterilizer keeps acting up. Some weeks bring in less than your old paycheck did. One week brings in almost nothing at all. Another week, out of nowhere, a single contract covers your mortgage, and then some. None of it moves in a straight line. That part takes getting used to. Then, about a year and a half in, a clinic manager named Priya calls you about a new sterilizer install. You start explaining your rates, your availability, the usual pitch you've given 30 times before. She cuts you off, not unkindly. You don't need to sell me. We don't need 3 bids. We already know we're calling you. You sit with that for a second after you hang up. Nobody taught you that this was the actual goal. Not the next contract. The day a contract stops needing to be won. Your name did something on its own, in a room you weren't in, before the phone even rang. At night you still check the accounts, out of habit more than anxiety now. The Roth IRA, quiet for years, has crossed a number that would have sounded made up to you at 23. The brokerage account took a hit during a rough stretch in the market. You watched $11,000 turn into a little over $9,000, sitting on your porch with a coffee that had gone cold, same as always. You didn't sell. The automatic transfer still went in that month, same as it always does, market conditions or not. You take the wallet out one evening, mostly out of habit. The $20 bill is still there, 13 years old now, soft as fabric at the folds. The ink faded just slightly at the corner. You've never spent it. It stopped being about the $20 a long time ago. It was never really about the $20. A message comes in from an old coworker one afternoon, someone from the hospital who heard you're doing your own thing now. Good for you, it says. Must be nice not having a boss. You almost correct them. You have plenty of bosses now. Every client, every invoice, every slow month is a kind of boss. But you don't bother explaining it. Some things don't translate well in a text message. You go back to work instead. There's a scheduling system to update, a call to return, a Sunday night spreadsheet waiting for its update, same as it's waited every week since you were 23 years old. Little by little, without a single dramatic moment attached to it, your life starts compounding too. Not just the number in the account, something underneath it. A version of you that doesn't flinch anymore when a month goes quiet. A version of you that isn't waiting for a paycheck to feel like proof of anything. Which brings you back to where this started. The house. The quiet. Naomi standing near the driveway, older now, same laugh, looking at the door you unlock without doing math first. She looks around for a minute before she says anything. Not at anything flashy. The house isn't enormous, the car in the driveway isn't new, but she notices the home office through the window. The calendar on the wall with entire weekdays left empty on purpose. The fact that it's a Tuesday afternoon and you're both just standing here, in no hurry, like Tuesday doesn't belong to anyone else right now. I don't get it, she finally says. Not unkind. Just tired, in the way people get tired of a question they've been asking themselves quietly for years. Neither did I, you tell her. Not for a long time. She shakes her head. We started in the same place, same $9.50 an hour. I made more than you most of those years, if you count the raises. You did. I bought the stuff we used to talk about buying, the car, the trips. You did. She looks at you. So when did it flip? You think about it for a second, standing in the driveway where this whole thing technically started 15 years ago, if you had to point at a single spot on a map. It didn't flip all at once, you tell her. It changed on the days nothing looked like it was happening. That's the part nobody tells you. She doesn't really have a response to that. She doesn't need one. Because for the first time since she pulled up, she's not looking at the house anymore. She's looking backward. The way you used to look at her posts online, at 24, at 28, wondering if you were the one getting it wrong. You don't say anything else about it. You don't need to make a point out of her afternoon. Later that night, after she's gone, you take the wallet out of your back pocket, the way you have thousands of times without thinking about it. The bill inside is soft now, almost fabric, the ink barely readable at the corner. 15 years old. Never spent. You've never really needed the $20. That was never the point of keeping it. The point was smaller than that, and bigger than that, both at once. It was proof, every single day, that you could decide something and actually keep the decision. Nobody ever saw you make it. Nobody ever needed to. People think getting ahead happens the moment the number finally gets big enough to notice. It doesn't. By the time it's visible to anyone else, the person who could actually hold on to it had already been built, quietly, over years. Nobody was watching. People rarely notice an ordinary Tuesday. Almost everyone overlooks a coffee you didn't buy at a gas station 11 years ago. Even you stop seeing the years your life looks smaller than everyone else's. Until one day it doesn't. And everyone calls it overnight. Nobody remembers the first day you became disciplined. They only remember the day discipline finally became visible. Somewhere right now, in a duplex with thin walls, in a city that isn't paying much attention, someone is 22 years old. $9.50 an hour. A bus pass. A wallet, brand new, with a $20 bill inside it, they haven't decided what to do with yet. They don't know yet what that bill is going to cost them, or what it's going to build. Not in dollars, in years. Maybe this time, they'll keep the $20 instead of spending it. The alarm is going to go off tomorrow at 6:15 either way, it always does.